rejoices over you with gladness. And then it says so beautifully, it says, He will quiet you with His love. My youngest girl, Katie, I still wait for the moment when she will go 2 minutes in a day without talking. And she's turning 4 now within a week. She sings and talks all the time. But there's a place where she has to go to bed. And sometimes she's so excited that that little body just cannot switch off, and I have to hold her. I've got to sing to her. Hush now, my baby. Don't cry. I've got to hush her to sleep. Sometimes we get so worked up by life, by the anxieties and the stress and the pressure of life, that we just need someone greater than ourselves because we cannot switch off. You cannot find that off switch for your fear, for your anger, for your lust, for your shame, for your disappointment. You just cannot find it in yourself. You need someone greater than you to come and quiet you with His love. So God says it doesn't matter what your stress and what your anxiety, He has the ability to quiet your heart. Because unless our hearts are quiet, we cannot hear His voice. Tonight He wants to come and quiet a few of our hearts here tonight. I want to jump with you from Zephaniah to Matthew 1. I wanted to show you a video clip, but we're not going to do that. I see there are kids in the room. But it's a video clip from The Avengers. Now, don't judge me for watching The Avengers. Like, it's been many years ago. The first movie. But it's the scene, and you guys can go and YouTube it. Okay, it's a scene from the battle between the Hulk and Loki. Okay, the Hulk is this green monster. I know most of you don't know what I'm talking about, so I'll have to explain to you. The Hulk is this big green monster, this angry guy. Okay, and you've got Loki coming from another planet, and he's wanting to take over planet Earth. And then there's this battle between these two. And in this battle at one stage, Loki says, "Stop! I'm a god, and all of you are beneath me." Something to that line. And while he's busy speaking, the Hulk takes him by the ankle and hits him, walks away from him and says, "Puny God." I looked at that and I thought to myself, how often do we reduce the magnificent, glorious God that we serve to a puny God? You know what puny is? Puny means insignificant and irrelevant. Insignificant and irrelevant. A puny God is a God that I can squeeze into my day. Like I will have a telephone number and a name here on my phone saying God, just like with all the other names on my phone. And somewhere along the line, maybe I'll give Him a call today if I need Him, if I think of Him. That's what I do with a puny God. But with a mighty God, He's the morning star. He's the one that calls the sun forth like a bridegroom calls his bride. He is the beginning and the end. He is the one that has no beginning and no end. The one that lives outside of time and space, and He chooses to deal with us within time and space. The one who makes my day, and the one who has the right to say to me how I must live my day. With a puny God, I don't really care too much about what His plan is for my day. I don't even consult the puny God. But a mighty God, I cry out to, like Moses did, "God, teach us to number our days so we may gain a heart of wisdom." That's what I do with a mighty God who's in my midst. A puny, irrelevant God simply becomes part of my emotions. Has no power to elevate me above my emotions. My emotions get drawn into my emotions. And I worship Him depending upon whether I can feel Him or not. A mighty God. A mighty God cannot be dictated to by my emotions. A mighty God has respect for my emotions, and He comes and He impacts my life in such a way that my heart very often overflows with exuberance and joy. Or sometimes I'm brought to my knees and I weep with joy. He impacts my emotions, but He's more than my emotions. He's not dictated to by my emotions, and neither is He afraid of my emotions. A mighty God is the one that that walks into the life of the demoniac from Gadara. You think about a man whose emotions was all over the place. A guy who was more comfortable amongst the dead than the living. A guy who made his life amongst the tombs. Often would break the chains and the ropes with which they try to bind him. Hulk's great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy. His emotions all over the place. And yet when Jesus is finished with him, this mighty God, when Jesus walks into his life, when Jesus is through with him, he's found clothed and in his right mind. That is the mighty God that I serve. Not the puny, insignificant God that has no control over my emotions, does not understand them. I want to show you from Matthew 1 verse 20 what I'm talking about. It says, while he, being Joseph, not Joseph who was in prison in Egypt, but Mary's fiancé, while he thought about these things and he was thinking about what to do with Mary, his fiancé was found out to be pregnant. We all know the story, so we read it through religious eyes. But when it says that he was thinking about these things, I think he had some hectic decisions to make. Here's this woman that I love, I've been waiting for a very long time. And all my dreams, all of a sudden, are destroyed because she's pregnant. And she's in denial. And she's lying to me and to everyone else and spinning this crazy story that the baby that she's carrying is God's child. Think about that. How's that for an excuse? And he has to think, what am I going to do? All of a sudden, I have the power over this woman's life and this baby's life as well in my hands. Do I reject her and have her stoned to death? And I had to be the first to pick up the stone. It was part of what was his right as the offended fiancé. Do I send her away somewhere far away where nobody would know what happened? At least she is safe. Or do I marry her and live with the stigma that I believe this lie? There goes the gullible Joseph. He loved this woman too much that he believed this stupid lie. What do I do? That was a hectic decision to make. I love what Albert Einstein says. He says, we cannot solve problems on the same level of thinking as what caused those problems. Joseph, as he was thinking, he had to be elevated to a higher place of a different perspective. Man, I don't know how many of you guys know that you will have to make some pretty important decisions in your life. Many of you have already made those decisions. Part of the responsibility of being a man, of being masculine, is that God gives us a responsibility to make decisions that impact not just our own lives, but the lives of our wives and our children and our grandchildren. We can literally change legacy through the decisions we make. And if that doesn't scare you, it should. God gives us that responsibility as men, and boys do not want that responsibility. Boys shy away from it. Boys say, let somebody else make the decision for me. I'd rather play computer games or watch sport. Nothing wrong with those things, except if those things prevent you from pushing into a higher level where you can hear from God. I love what happens to Joseph. He was a godly man, and I believe that as he was thinking about these things, he was praying about it and carrying it in his heart. It says, an angel of the Lord appears to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take to you Mary, your wife. Now, that's not a word for someone here, okay? Just this verse, particular here, it's Mary, okay? Mother of Jesus. Don't say you got the word here, take Mary, all right? Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take to you Mary, your wife. But guess what, guys? In any case, you will have to overcome your fears if you're going to take a wife. Fear to be discovered that you're not as perfect, and there's more to you than all the muscles and all the car that you drive and all of those things, that you've got some stuff that you're not fully comprehending in your own life even. You don't always have all the answers. Be okay with that. Know that there's a God that calls you and that will equip you and will empower you to love the woman and the kids that He gives you. It's not about your strength. but about His strength in you. Some of you need to come forward so we can pray for you guys to be delivered from a spirit of fear. You are afraid to get married. You are afraid to mess up someone's life. And the Lord wants to set you free from that tonight. And you need to come and allow the Lord to do something in your heart. You are not a failure. You're not going to repeat the same mistakes that your dad did. He's going to come and set you free and empower you. Don't fear. Verse 21 says, she will bring forth, let me backtrack. It says, that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. In essence, do not be afraid to do what is right. And she will bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. And we sang about this name. We're going to sing some more about this name now. And she will bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. For he will save his people from their sins. And Jesus literally means Yahweh is salvation. Yahweh saves. So when his name is Jesus, it means that God, the mighty one, remember what Zephaniah said? The Lord who is mighty to save is in your midst. And here's something incredible happens. This God that created the universe, He comes and the angel says, He will come and not just live within a human, He will come and He will become human. He becomes one of us. Now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Verse 22 says, so all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which is translated, God with us. The angel gives the purpose for Jesus coming. He says Jesus will come to save his people from their sins. Sin is no small matter. We don't like talking about it because we don't want to be sin conscious. But you know the only solution to the sin problem was the life of the very Son of God. That's how big a problem sin is. And that is why we cannot ignore sin. Because it was sin that brought Jesus to the earth. It was his love that compelled him to come, because he saw that sin was separating us from him. And we couldn't save ourselves from our own sin. We couldn't. Didn't matter how many temples we built, didn't matter how many sacrifices we brought, we could never get beyond the sin barrier. We couldn't. He had to come and save us from our sins. He had to come and wipe away the mud that the enemy threw over the image of God, wipe it clean with his blood. And I was thinking about this name, Emmanuel, God with us. And as I thought about that, I realized it's such an interesting one. Why this name? And it seems to me as if the entire battle, the entire conflict between the armies of heaven and the armies of hell revolves around this one thing, that God chooses to be with man. And that Satan's strategy from the very beginning has been to try and separate God from man. Think about it. If you go back to the Garden of Eden, what did he try to do? He put mistrust in the heart of man towards God's heart. Is God really for you? And Jesus comes to demonstrate, yes, he is. God with us. I like what Spurgeon says, that when the great tempter of your soul comes against you, whisper this one name, God with us, and see him flee. There's nothing that makes the devil more angry and upset and more fearful than you knowing that God is with you. But then it is important to know what kind of God is with you, isn't it? Because if you think that a puny God is with you, an insignificant, irrelevant God who isn't mighty to save, then you will not have confidence. Because if I say to you, I'll be with you, maybe you'll get a little bit excited, but not maybe that much either. It doesn't really make a difference to your life whether I'm with you or not. I've been asking myself that question. Is God's presence in my life really making a difference? The fact that he's with me, is it impacting the way I'm thinking? Is it impacting the way that I'm doing my planning? Is it impacting my sexuality, my sexual appetites, my physical appetites, the way I steward my body, the way I steward my time, my resources, the way I treat my wife and my kids? God with me, is it changing my life? And I've discovered of late, these last few weeks especially, that there are certain parts of my life where I have isolated them from the impact of God with me. And God in His mercy and in His love has been roping me in, bringing me back again, saying, Heinrich, I want to be with you in that area. And you don't yet know what that means. The only thing you know right now is that you by yourself in that area is wholly insufficient. And He's bringing me face to face again with some weaknesses in my life that I thought I'd conquered a long time ago. And all of a sudden now, the things that used to work, they're not working anymore. I feel it tugging in my heart. God saying to me, get plugged in again. Bring that area back to me again. Stop relying on Heinrich's strength there. Heinrich's resources, Heinrich's personality, Heinrich's experience. Bring that back again to my presence, to my power. In essence, God is saying, you don't have to build your temples to go and look for Him anymore. He has come looking for you. What part of your heart is there that you have isolated from the knowledge that He is Emmanuel, with you, close to you? I love what Isaiah 9 verse 6 says. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon His shoulders, and His name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So when we talk about God with us, we are saying that wherever I go, going with me is a wonderful God. In other words, a God that calls forth beauty, even in the midst of so much heartache. I again this week read the story of the lady that wrote, Blessed Assurance, Jesus is mine. Such a beautiful hymn. But you know what happened to her when she was young? Some doctor made a big mistake, wrecked her eye, she lost her eyesight in one particular eye. But because she had a knowledge of the one that was wonderful with her, it didn't matter to her that she couldn't see out of the one eye. She could still behold His beauty. And she could still write about His beauty and not allow bitterness to blind her. You can only rise above the pain that other people cause you if you are aware that with you is a wonderful God. A beautiful God. That with you is the comforter. With you is the one that can go with you like He did with all the martyrs right throughout the ages and have them go to their deaths singing. What is that? That is the knowledge that with me is not a puny God, but a mighty God who's able to comfort. With you is the everlasting Father. It says to you, doesn't matter what you do, I will always be your dad. I will always have arms outstretched towards you. You will always have a home to come back to. That's the God that's with you. The God who is the Prince of Peace. With you into every situation goes the one that wants to keep your heart from falling apart. Goes the one that wants to keep you from giving into hopelessness and despair. Not just wants to keep you, but can keep you. Will keep you. That is the God that we worship. If we think about God with us, we need to think about Jesus in the boat in the midst of the storm. The storm is raging. He's in the boat with His disciples. You need to think about Jesus with Zacchaeus in his home. You need to think about Jesus going into the lives of so many men and women right throughout the ages and saying, I'm not intimidated by your sin. I'm not intimidated by your weaknesses. I am with you. It is the very essence of our religion. The fact that God is with us in spite of us. Because of His blood. That is what makes us different from every other religion. We are not a works-based, performance-based faith. We are a mighty God faith. And Emmanuel, a God with us, an everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, Comforter, wonderful God, mighty God, Ancient of Days, Lily of the Valley, Rose of Sharon, the bright morning star, beginning and our end, the immutable, unchangeable, omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipotent God who is with us in spite of us. That's the kind of God that we serve. And that is what defines us, and that is what fuels our worship. That is what elevates you to have new eyes on a new day. Not because you are psyching yourself up or because you're reading a self-help book, but because the one who is in your midst is mighty to save. And He's with you. You know, I was thinking about the fact that this God that has come to be with us, all of our phones, if you can find your light on your phone, you know, we've got these lovely little flashlights now in our phones, amazing little things. You think about it, this light is pretty incredible. You can have a phone that has a light, especially in our country. You know, it's quite a useful thing to have. We were up in Malawi and we were sitting up there and the power went off and we felt at home immediately. We were so thankful. But you look at this, you know, it's such a lovely light. But you think about it, God coming in human form, God coming to become one of us. It's like taking the sun and squeezing the sun into this little flashlight. Think about it. Multiply that with 10,000 times 10,000, and you might have an idea as to the magnitude of God coming to live within a lump of clay that He made Himself. God squeezed, the sun squeezed into this little light. Surely that isn't possible. That is the mystery and the miracle of the incarnation. God with you, burning brightly inside of you. What have you done with the light? John says, in Him was life, and the life was the light of men. The Lord challenged me with this verse, and I want to leave it with you. Why should I be miserable all by myself? No, I'm joking, all right? Don't be so serious. Jeremiah 2 verse 13, PowerPoint people, you need to keep up with me. Jeremiah 2:13 says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewn for themselves cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water." What was going on here? The Israelites had reduced God to a puny God. Said, we are going to look to other places for our life. And so they went to other fountains. They left the fountain of life. They drank here and they drank there. And it says that they had broken pitchers, broken cisterns. When we walk away from the fountain of life, you get to a situation and you find, oh my goodness, I suddenly don't have enough patience. I suddenly don't have enough self-control. I suddenly don't have enough faithfulness. What happened? You were drinking from another well. And God says, Heinrich, I need you to come back and come and drink from me. This is the message He's giving me over and over again. You can continue trying in your own strength. Keep on trying, keep on trying, keep on putting more water in that cistern. But guess what, baby? It is broken. It will continue to leak. Come back to the fountain. Come back to the fountain. Come back to the fountain. Come back to my presence. Come back to my word. Jesus, and this is where I'll end, John 7:37. On the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles, what happened each day during this feast was the Israelites would go to the pool of Siloam. They would, in a golden pitcher, the priests would take a golden pitcher, make it full of water, and then there would be a procession from this pool to the temple where the priest would sprinkle this water upon the altar. And they would recite the promise from Isaiah that says, with great joy you will draw from the well of salvation. Talking about how God caused water to come out of the rock. And so they're celebrating God's provision of water. It's a beautiful ceremony. And in the midst of it all, the Bible says, Jesus stood, cried out and saying, if anyone thirsts, remember they're having their worship service. People are rejoicing. Jesus is screaming, if anyone thirsts. I wonder how often we can get so busy doing the good stuff. And we walk out thirsty because we miss Jesus. And He's shouting to my heart, Heinrich, there's a thirst inside of you only I can quench. Don't you dare get so busy being good, doing all the right stuff that you do not drink from me. If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. And he who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of water.